Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
Hello, this is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us. I'm very pleased to have Chad Collier with me here today. Chad is a faith-driven entrepreneur, impact investor, a pilot, auto dealer, film financier, keynote speaker, and just the founder and CEO of CarSaver. I think I missed a few things too. Welcome to the show, Chad.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity to come on.
All right. Always excited to have fun, successful entrepreneurs on the show. Can you give us, our listeners, a little background on how you became an entrepreneur? What were the driving forces behind that before we dive into the details?
Sure. I grew up, my father was an entrepreneur. He was in banking. And I guess it probably starts with him. He was a undersized athlete in college that turned that into a two-time All-American football player who 50 years later actually just got the opportunity to go back to his school where he was honored to be put into the Hall of Fame, still holds the career record for interceptions.
Oh, wow.
At his college. So my father was an entrepreneur. He was in banking, construction, automotive, built and sold several businesses. And when I was in high school, we moved to Arizona, and I was in Yuma, Arizona, where my first job was washing cars. And
they get dirt. They do get dirty in Yuma.
They do get dirty, and I'll tell you, they get really hot inside. And so if I ever got in any trouble, missed curfew or anything, my dad, my payment was I had to wash the inside of the windshields of all the cars on the lot. And I would have, I remember my arms.
The dashboards would burn
I would have, it felt like bacon on the bottom of my arm. It'd be so burnt. I'd have seatbelt burns all over so ouch. I would think twice before I missed curfew the next time.
Funny. That's funny. That was one of my first jobs. My dad worked at Ford on the assembly line making pickup trucks. But at night we would, and the weekends we'd clean office buildings. And so when I was in middle school, we did that for a few years. Before at 15, I went down and they were opening a car wash down the road, and I was the first employee. I helped them finish the construction of it. And then I worked in there and I cleaned the insides and the outsides and vacuumed and I did all that stuff. So that was one of my first real jobs as well.
Yeah. So you learn the value of hard work really, really quickly. But I was fortunate enough when I was washing cars, I had a gentleman come up to me and ask me to sell him a car. And I wasn't a car salesman. I was just moving the lot that day. And he said, no, you can sell me this car. So I had the chance to take him on a test drive and ultimately sold him. It was my first car sale, and got a little taste of car sales. So I moved into sales and put myself through college selling cars. Actually, nice. Worked at Sands Chevrolet in Glendale, and Buzzard Sands and Jerry Moore were really influential. I'd say they, along with my dad, they were influential in helping shape my kind of entrepreneurship, because Jerry, from an early age, at young 20s, Jerry, when General Motors would come in to the dealership, Jerry would specifically point me out and say, you see that young man right there? He's going to be a mega dealer. He's going to be super successful in automotive. You need to pay attention to him. And just him speaking that into existence gave me so much confidence as a young kid. And I look back so many times now throughout my entrepreneurial career, how that belief that he instilled in me was so powerful in my journey to become an entrepreneur.
Right. Yeah, that reminds me of the Henry Ford quote, right? Whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, mindset's huge for sure, and that's a great story. So how did that play out? I think why don't you go ahead and tell the listeners how you became an auto dealer?
Yeah, so I actually ended up after Sands, I moved to Yuma and got one of my first management jobs and was managing some stores in Yuma. And I got lucky and hit a penny stock and got enough capital to buy my first dealership when I was 26 years old. Actually, a Ford dealership. So when I was 26, I moved to Tennessee and bought a Ford dealership, and then later bought a couple more stores throughout the Southeast. So owned Ford and Lincoln Mercury dealerships.
Okay, what are the challenges owning a dealership?
There's a lot of challenges owning dealerships. One is it's really capital intensive. You've got to have a lot of capital, and the dealerships we would purchase were underperforming dealerships. I only had so much capital, and so it was pretty risky. These dealerships we would purchase because they were losing money a lot of times, but a lot of times they just had a bad culture, didn't have great leadership. And a successful dealership has a great culture, is a big part of the community that they're in, and really realizes that every purchase is a big experience, and it's the second largest investment most people will ever make. And if you can make that experience fast, fun, and easy and meaningful, then
Right.
then those customers will come back to see you. So the challenge, I would say, for a lot of the dealerships we had, outside of the external challenges of, the economy and gas prices and supply and those things that we couldn't always control. The things we could control, I would say some of the challenges were just automotive is a business that has been around for a really long time. A lot of the industry is stuck in the old ways of doing things. So getting your staff and your team to adapt and see a different way to do things can be a challenge, but also a big opportunity and a big unlock to success within the dealerships.
Okay. Okay. So are you still in the industry? You still have some?
I sold my car dealerships to start the company I founded and run now, which is CarSaver.com. So
Okay.
CarSaver.com is a platform. Our mission is to make car buying easier and make it fast, fun, and easy. So we're a platform to buy new and used cars through a network of dealerships across the country that we have vetted and certified to join our network. Been fortunate to have some great partners along the way join us in the mission. We work with Walmart and iHeartMedia, Nissan, and others who have joined our mission to change the way the world buys and sells cars.
Okay. Excellent. How long you been running CarSaver?
Man, 12 years now.
Oh, wow. So how's the transaction volume changed in those years?
It's changed a lot. We went from I remember our first car sale. Our first car sale was a $10,000 used car in Stuart, Florida, inside of a Walmart supercenter in Stuart, Florida. And our second car was a $250,000 Bentley that a customer bought from us, also inside of Walmart. That was vastly different customers and experiences selling those
Right.
cars. But now we'll do tens of thousands of cars per month through our platform.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. And what are your goals for the coming years? Are you trying to double every year? Or I mean, it sounds like that's pretty good growth.
Yeah, so we've been fortunate to have some significant growth, but we're still our goal is to get into to sell over 1 million cars per year and
Okay.
impact over a million car transactions per year.
Nice, nice. Well, you're over you're on pace for 120,000, I guess.
We're a little over that. We're a little over that now. We're
Okay.
closer to 200,000 now, but
Nice.
so we can 1 million is in sight, but a lot of work to do to still get there.
What's the biggest hurdle to get there?
I think one is just awareness. The more people that know about
Sure.
CarSaver.com and how easy it is to do is one challenge, and the second is industry adoption. So getting dealerships in the automotive industry to adopt to a different way of selling and a more modern sales process or a modern
Right.
customer experience than the traditional, negotiation at the dealership that can take hours. So a lot of our customers tell us they love cars, they just don't like the process of buying them. It often it takes too long. It's cumbersome, and you often feel like you overpaid after spending hours of negotiation with the salesperson at a dealership. So we're trying to make it fast, fun, and easy, where you can buy a car in minutes right on your phone and have it delivered to your door.
Nice. So there's some competition in that space I'm familiar with. Is it growing, getting better? Are you getting more market share?
Yeah, there's competition in the space. We're unique from a lot of our competitors in that we're new and used cars, and so
Okay.
a nationwide network of dealers that we leverage their supply. And and the second thing that's really unique about CarSaver is not only is the experience easy, but you get a lifetime warranty that comes standard on every vehicle at no cost. So that lifetime warranty covers the most expensive components of the car, the engine, transmission, and your drive shaft.
Right.
And that's for as long as you own that vehicle. If you own that vehicle for 1 million miles, it's covered under the lifetime warranty
Wow.
at no cost.
Wow. Nice. That's awesome. Okay, let's talk shift gears a little bit. It says here pilot. When did that happen and why? I know I say that because I know people in Texas, for example. I know some realtors and some car guys there who they have to, just to get around. They had to get their pilot's license just so they could personally fly. As Texas is so big.
That's a great question. My journey in flying, I would have never. I don't know if I would have ever when I was growing up. I didn't have a passion to become a pilot, but when I was running a store in Arizona, I was a used car manager in Yuma, and I was newly married, had a young daughter, and I was going back and forth twice a week to the auction in Phoenix, up in Chandler.
Okay.
And so I was spending, 12 to 15 hours a week driving back and forth between the auction. And I had a conversation with Joe Fisher, who owned the dealerships, and said, Joe, man, I'm spending a lot of time going to the auction back and forth. It's a lot of wasted time in the car, and it's a boring drive between Yuma and Phoenix. There's not a lot there other than Gila Bend in the middle,
Yeah.
and not a lot in Gila Bend. But he said, well, Chad, I'm a pilot, and I have a couple of airplanes. Why don't you get your pilot's license? And I was, I thought he was joking at first, and he said, no, seriously, if you'll get your pilot's license, I'll let you fly one of my planes back and forth to the auction. And so I started then getting my license, and was able to get my license. And then the freedom that comes with an airplane, I never took him up on using his plane. I ended up getting so passionate about it that I bought a little Cessna, and I would fly the Cessna back and forth, and then fly my family and stuff on the weekends. But flying is a fun hobby.
Okay. Yeah. My son just started college at Embry-Riddle University in Prescott.
Yeah, great school.
He's not going for flight. He's going for aerospace engineering, but a number of his friends there are, and he likes it. So we'll see if he gets. He does. He was told because some people just to get a private license, and start on the side. And they said, if you don't love it, don't do it there, because we'll suck the fun out of it. They're so hardcore about the training there. But he may still do it. Like I said, a couple of his friends and roommates and stuff there are. One of my hunting buddies just got his. He was a sheriff for 20 years and retired and became an attorney. And some of the other guys already owned a plane, so he became a fractional owner in their plane, and he's already sold it and got a bigger one, so he can have at least 4+ people in luggage for the family to go around.
It's a different world when you're able to fly yourself or fly yourself and your family and travel that way. There's a lot of freedom in that. But man, I remember those first lessons, the fear of getting in an airplane and knowing it's your life is in your hands.
Yep.
You make a mistake, it could be critical. I remember the first day that my instructor took me to a landing strip where we would do lessons every day, and he asked me to park. And when I parked, he started to get out. I said, "Where are you going?" He said, "You're gonna solo today." And when you train in a really small plane. I think it was like a 152. And so the weight of the passenger makes a big difference. I remember when he got out, first of all, I couldn't have gripped that steering wheel or that any tighter. And I was so nervous. But when I took off, just the speed of the plane compared to when he was in there was dramatically different. And I think I grew up with both of my grandpas were Southern Baptist preachers. So I grew up in church and singing songs out of the hymnal. And I think I sung every song I knew during that solo because I was so nervous.
Oh, that's funny.
But it was a great lesson in overcoming fears and the outcome of that, the freedom that being a pilot gives you was well worth going through that little bit of adversity.
Right. No, for sure. That's where all the growth is. So that's great. Yeah, the weight. Even bigger planes, I've noticed people complain about the weight distributions on them and stuff as things change.
It really makes a difference. You don't realize it, but a big part of getting your license is learning the weight balance and making sure you're doing all your proper checklists and stuff to make sure your weight distribution is right. And it's I never understood how when you're checking into the airport, how if your bag's over 50 pounds, it can make a difference. But you can have a passenger beside you that weighs 400 pounds, and it doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't make a difference. So I never asked why they didn't ask you what you weighed when you buy your ticket.
Right. That's funny. Yeah, for sure. One other note on that is because I have some friends who are doing their solo flights. What is it? Cross country or whatever they call it for part of getting your license.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just there's not AC in a lot of these planes here, and we're in the thick of the heat of Arizona, so it's just brutal to be up there in a little hot tin can flying around. Yeah. It's almost dangerous, right, to be by yourself overheating in 100 and whatever degrees, 110 degrees.
The heat is definitely makes an impact, but I'll tell you, there's probably no better place to learn how to fly than Arizona, just because of the weather. I mean, you can fly almost 365 days a year, and you don't have to learn how to navigate the weather. Where other places, there's there could be the weather could be a significant factor in your flight plan.
Yep, for sure. That's just instrument level stuff, right? That was who was the one a long time ago? That was Kennedy Jr., right?
Yeah.
That was probably a good example of not being familiar, right? Weather comes and catches you off guard, and
yeah.
It
can. One time I was flying back from Oklahoma to Yuma, and I got over Roswell, New Mexico, and my alternator went out. And your alternator controls all your gauges and stuff. And so I opened up my manual, and the manual said, if your alternator light is on, to basically turn your engine off and restart it. And I remember reading that and thinking, man, turn my engine off. I'm in mid-flight. And so
Right.
Gary, I'd never thought about turning the plane off when you're flying, but I did it. I cycled it, and nothing happened. The light still stayed on. It said, do it again if it doesn't reset. And I did it again. And so then it said, basically you need to make an emergency landing. So I called down and told him I was coming down for an emergency landing, and I'd never done an emergency landing, and the plane was flying fine. I just didn't have any instruments.
Right.
But when I landed, I had the hazmat team come behind me. So I had ambulance, fire trucks, people were in hazmat suits coming down the runway behind me. I couldn't believe everything that happened in an emergency landing. But I was not able to get an alternator for several days, and I needed to get back to Yuma. And so I called the guy who had introduced me to flying, and he'd flown for a really long time. And he said, "Hey, you can fly the plane. You're just going to have to fly, visually without your instruments." And it's tough to do because you're in the desert, and in the desert there's not a lot of visuals for you to go off of, but you can do it. And so I made my plan. My flight plan was from Roswell to El Paso, El Paso to Tucson, and then Tucson into Yuma. And when I left Roswell, between Roswell and El Paso is the White Sands Missile Range. And there's a small corridor through the middle of it that you can fly through. And it's restricted space on either side of that corridor. And so you had to be really precise and flying visually, make sure you didn't cross over into that restricted air zone. And with the restricted air zone, you also I didn't have a radio, so I couldn't hear if I went to restricted air zone. I couldn't hear them come on and tell me to to get out of that space. So it's very nerve-wracking. But also, if I was just a few degrees off on that flight, not only was I risking getting into the restricted airspace, but also if I missed El Paso, I would end up in Mexico. And so I made it to El Paso, and once I got to El Paso, I turned and I knew my direction from there. I got to Tucson, and in Tucson, my major visual was Mount Lemmon. And Mount Lemmon is a big mountain over Tucson, as I'm sure you're aware of. But Mount Lemmon was on fire. And so the top of Mount Lemmon and all of Tucson was covered in a smoke layer. Oh. And I couldn't see where Mount Lemmon was because there was nothing but smoke. And I needed to get fuel. And so I had to come down through that cloud layer or through that smoke layer and hope that Mount Lemmon was not underneath me. So it was one of the most stressful flights I'd ever taken in my life. And a really good friend of mine, my father, and a really good friend of mine, Valentin Guzman, which is a amazing entrepreneur in Yuma, Arizona, that does a lot for the community. You should interview him at some point. He's amazing. But he was on that flight with me, and I remember when we landed, he got out and kissed the ground and promised he would never fly in a small plane again in his life. And he was so glad to be on the ground. We all were. But anyways, that was a huge lesson in I guess overcoming adversity, and it's probably stupid for us to do what we did, but thank goodness we made it through it.
Right. Yeah, that's the problem with, like we were talking about. I mean, you can even get your instrument ready and you know how to do it, but if they fail you, then what? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oof. Okay. Exactly. So I want to ask you about the film financier part before we move on and wrap this up.
Yeah.
So, multiple films, was it just the one?
So my first was a movie that I'm really grateful to be a part of, called Sound of Freedom. And Sound of Freedom is probably one of the most important or impactful movies, at least in this decade.
Yes.
And Sound of Freedom, our mission is to make awareness of trafficking and child
Hmm.
trafficking, and our kind of motto became God's children are not for sale, and that became
Right.
a big line in the movie. But it really created a movement that helped shed awareness on a really big problem. And so I was fortunate enough to that was my first movie investment, and it went to not only went to top 200 movie of all time in the box office, but really made an impact with governments, community leaders, business leaders
Right.
across the country, helping. Um, you know, Laws were passed, and a lot of awareness was made, and continued progress on hopefully eventually um, eliminating or at least significantly reducing this big problem.
Sure, sure. I mean, that helping people, all right, transact on cars is impactful, right? I mean, it provides a lot, but that's total next level, different purpose-driven stuff. So, congratulations on that. Thank you for. Was that how did they approach you for that? Was it risky? Where you're like, oh, we have a show and we need a backers to finance it.
My business partner in CarSaver is an entrepreneur and built and sold previous to us partner, and he'd built and sold several auto tech companies. And um, between one of those, he had a non-compete where he had to kind of sit on the sidelines for a while from auto, and so he uh, he had the opportunity to invest in a movie and produced several movies, really either faith-based or kind of wholesome, family-friendly
Okay.
movies. And so when we were in the office together in Miami, he Tim Ballard came in one day, and Tim and Eduardo, the executive producer, were talking about the movie and talking about the mission of the movie, and that they were going to be raising funds for the movie. So I was invited to make an investment in the movie and help promote, help market the movie, and so I was able to get involved, and um, it was it was really a blessing. I'm really grateful for that opportunity, and to be a part of that.
Okay. Wow. Okay. And you've done more projects since?
I've got another movie that's being made right now that will be coming out, but so that'll be my second one that comes out.
Okay. Okay. How's that work? Are you can't promote it or anything until it's made and all that, or how?
Yeah. This movie will be called Endurance, um, but usually it's kind of hush until it's ready to be unveiled. It's still in the stages of production and finalizing some of the talent and stuff like that. And so, but it'll be soon. Sound of Freedom was a really long journey. Sound of Freedom actually um, was produced and then sat on the shelves for years. Disney had bought the rights to the movie, or acquired the rights to the movie, and didn't release the movie for several years. And so most movies, you make an investment, the movie's produced, and then it comes out and you
Right.
see how it did. Sound of Freedom was a very different in that it sat on the shelves for years, and then finally we were able to get it away from Disney, and we launched the movie with Angel Studios. And after kind of sitting on the shelves, it then became, had the success that it had in the box office. It beat Mission Impossible on opening weekend, and
Wow.
several other major films. So it was really cool to see and kind of be along for that journey.
Yeah, yeah. It's weird how, I mean, Disney saw something there. They wanted the rights to the movie, but then any idea why they
Well,
shelved it for
they had
so long?
acquired the rights from they purchased a an entity that actually owned the rights, and
Oh,
so
I see.
Disney didn't firsthand, but they acquired it through an acquisition,
Right.
and there's a lot of conspiracies of why they why they sat on it and why they didn't release it, and I don't know why. I just know that they did sit on it for a really long time, and it was uh, um, it was disheartening because it's I believe, such a powerful movie,
Yeah.
powerful movement that happened from it that it was unfortunate that it took so long to happen.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you for those insights. So, a lot of impactful stuff. Do you have anything as we wrap up the interview? Any exciting plans or initiatives throughout the rest of this year?
I one is I'm a big Oklahoma Sooner fan, and so I'm really looking forward to college football this year and seeing how Oklahoma does. They got a big game versus Michigan this weekend. But other than that, just continuing to we've got some big launches on the horizon at CarSaver and some big announcements we'll be making over the third and fourth quarter that we're really excited about. And then this new film, I'm excited to see it come out and see how it does and the impact it can make.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. All right, Chad. Reflection question, right? What do you wish you knew sooner in your career about building wealth and success?
Oh, that's a great question. You know, I was on a plane the other day, and I was thinking I was with my son on an airplane, and I wasn't flying this time, but the stewardess gave the pre-flight and talked about how if the oxygen mask come down, to put your oxygen mask on first and then put it on your child. And at first I thought, man, that seems very selfish. Like why would I not try to save my child before I save myself? And I thought about that and reflected on that. And really, I mean, the purpose of that is that you need to save yourself so that you can save your child. And
Right.
often, as an entrepreneur, we get so wrapped up in our business or the mission or the success that we don't always take care of ourselves. And
Right.
so I think, if you think about that oxygen mask and really taking care of yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, all of
Mhm.
those things, the better job you do at that, the better job you're going to do at leading others. And it's
Right.
really important that for you to lead others, you need to be in a great space. And so taking the time to make sure you're taking care of yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually, I think, and not sacrificing any of those, really staying strong to those so that you can be your best self and you can show up and lead others and lead your company or your family or whatever it is that you're called to do. I think is really, really important.
Right. Yeah. Good answer, Chad. That's not uncommon, particularly amongst successful people, is they made sacrifices, right? And they lost their balance, right? And they finally got there and they realized that it wasn't worth it or something, right?
Yeah, very true.
Yep. Okay. Well, if people would like to connect with you and learn more, what should they do? Where can they go?
Yeah, you can go to LinkedIn at Chadwick Collier or C Collier at carsaver.com is my email. Would love to connect with you. And thank you so much for the opportunity to be on. It's been a real pleasure, and it's been a fun 30 minutes getting to talk with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you everybody for listening and watching. Thank you, Chad Collier, very much for joining me today. Appreciate your stories and your insight into some of these different industries. It's been awesome. Thank you.
Inspired by our guests? Visit PhoenixProsperityPodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.